Hi, I've been working for the last week out here in Germany near Potsdam at the Albert Einstein Institute, and the scientists and mathematicians here have a superhuman ability to be able to switch between sensing and intuition. They're able to be able to dig deep into the most exquisite, superb, complex detail and then pull all the way back out to understand what this means in universal cosmological terms, and then to be able to use that insight to predict things further right down at the level of the most complex, exquisite detail. And like I say, this is a kind of a superhuman ability. And what it makes me think about is what happens with us mere mortals when we're trying to do the same thing. Because for most of the rest of us, we don't have this ability to be able to go all the way in and then to pull ourselves all the way back out. We tend to have a preference. And what do I mean by preference? Well, just like this clicker that I use for this video, if it's lying on the table in front of me, I'll generally prefer to pick it up with my right hand because I'm right-handed. But I am kind of capable of doing the same thing with my left hand. It just takes a bit more effort. And the same thing happens in thinking terms. So there's something called the Stroop effect. And the Stroop effect is it's an experiment that you can run which shows just how much more easy and difficult it is to access different parts of your brain. So I'm going to run a little test here and you can do it for yourself. I'm going to show you three colours. And I'm going to show you the three colours 3 different times. And I want you to say out loud what colour you're seeing. So if there's words there, the words are irrelevant. I'm just interested in you saying what colour you're seeing. So here's the first one. And here's the second one. And here's the third one. And what you probably saw was that as this test went on, it became increasingly more difficult as you were having to think consciously more and more about what it is that you were actually having to say. You could do it third time around, but it was much more difficult in the earlier stages of the test. And the same is true when we're trying to access those kind of different capabilities that we have in our brain, because we all have a preference, or most of us who aren't superhumans have a preference, either for sensing or for intuition. So sensing is that ability to be able to drill in and grasp the detail and go further into the detail. And intuition is the opposite. It's to join the dots. It's to see how things fit together. Now, where is this important? It's important that you know what your preference is. And it's also often important that you understand what other people's preference is as well, because sometimes you can end up communicating at the wrong level. You're trying, maybe if you have a preference for sensing, you will prefer to dig in more and more and more of the detail, and you're supplying more and more of the detail in communication to other people. Now, that's fine if their preference is the same, but if their preference is to understand the big picture, then all that you're doing is frustrating them as they're trying to access and trying to build up a picture of how this all fits together. Similarly, if it's the other way around, if all that you're doing is really setting the context and showing how things fit together and you're joining the dots, you're going to be frustrating a person who's really keen to see you access the detail. The other place where it's important is to understand which skills and which preferences are applicable to which tasks. If we're thinking about something like reviewing a legal contract, we might find that we need to access both of those skills. So I need to be able to look at the contract as a whole to be able to understand what does it say, what does it mean, what are the risks, what am I on the hook for, how does this all fit together structurally. But also it's really important that we're able to go into the fine detail and make sure that that fine detail represents what we actually understand the contract is there going to say. So being able to access both sides of these and recognise when these different skills are important is very useful. The other thing is, for some of us, we do have a better developed ability to be able to move between these two parts, and it can be super frustrating for us if we're working with other people who struggle a little bit more to either go into the fine detail and to be attentive towards the fine detail, or conversely, for us to be able to pull back out and explain the context and show how this fits together. So the takeaway from today is really understanding where your preference lies. Are you a sort of in the detail person, or are you a join the dots and big picture person? But also when you're thinking about communicating or the work or the way that the work is being managed, just try and understand what is the appropriate skill and the appropriate strength. So you can make sure that, you know, you're the right person for the job, that person is the right person for the job, and if not, you know, you may be getting in different people with different skills to work on that particular task, or if that's not possible, you're making extra efforts to ensure that you're deploying the appropriate skills, even if it is, you know, in those kinds of situations as difficult as seeing the word red but pronouncing the colour green. So that's it for today. I'll see you on the next video. I'm Gareth. See you next time.